Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Just a quick announcement. If there are any elected officials, please sign in at the front. And if anyone would like to make public comment, we also have a sign-in sheet at the front.
Yes, I'm here.
So they wanted me to remind you that our microphone will be on all the time.
Okay.
And then you might have a 20-second lag on YouTube.
Oh, okay. Good to know. All right. But you guys aren't live on YouTube yet, correct?
No, not yet.
No, I just hit live.
Oh, Miguel just.
How do I find you? What do I do? Just.
So on YouTube,
Uh-huh.
if you search for NMDOT, it'll pull up a bunch of videos. We have a channel.
I'm there and I see old videos.
Are you on the homepage?
I am on, let's see here. It just shows all the old what. Okay, so if I'm on the home page now. And if I do a New Mexico DOT search, it takes me to all the old videos.
Okay, so click on any of the videos. And in the little information section under the video, it's got the name of the channel.
Any of the old videos?
Yeah, because it gives, when you're in the video, directly under the video, it gives you like whose channel you're on. If you click on that, it'll take you to the channels page.
Any of the videos. Okay.
The thing that's different about a road vacation home.
Okay, I'm on it now, but I'm not electrically. Okay. Oh, I'm on.
You're on?
I think so.
You should be looking at
live stream will begin from Farmington in D5. Yep, I've got it.
We're good?
I'm going to call the meeting of the New Mexico State Transportation Commission here in Farmington, August 18, 2022, at approximately 8:34. Let's establish a quorum. Commissioner Sandoval, can you hear me?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, so let me do this. Let the record show that 3 commissioners are here present, and we have Commissioner Sandoval via Zoom. And per our policy, we do have an agenda. If I can get a roll call.
Commissioner Sandoval,
Here.
Commissioner Ellis,
Here.
Chairman Adams,
Here.
Commissioner Taylor.
Let the record show that a quorum has been established. If I can, is Clarissa here? You didn't know this, but can you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Spanish. Spanish. No.
Backwards. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
She did a good job.
Yeah. You've all had a chance to review the agenda. Is there any changes? Is there any deletions? At this time, if not, what is the pleasure?
Make a motion, we approve the agenda as presented.
We have a motion by Commissioner Ellis. Do I have a second? Second by Commissioner Taylor to approve the agenda as presented. You've had a chance to review the minutes of the regular meeting of July 21st, 2022. Is there any questions? Is there any comments? If not, what is the pleasure of the commission?
Move approval.
I have a motion for approval from Commissioner Taylor,
Second.
second by Commissioner Ellis. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That carries unanimously. We'll go now into introductions, and I'll turn it over to the secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members of the commission, I'm going to introduce a handful of elected officials that we have here. Janice, I apologize, Giacchino, all right, maybe I didn't chop that up. City Councilor from Farmington is with us. Not there. Morning. Terry Fortner, Commissioner from Farmington, San Juan County. Morning. Steve Lumiere, Commissioner with San Juan County, Aztec.
Good morning.
Morning. Cynthia Tencio, the Mayor of Bloomfield. Morning. From Espanola.
Born in Espanola.
There you go. Scott Eckstein, the City Councilor with Bloomfield.
Morning.
Oh, all right. Good morning. Mr. Chair, that's all we have on the elected officials list, but we have others on public comment.
Okay,
Yeah. Oh, is Nate here?
morning, sir.
Good morning, Nate. We met, I think, about 6 or 7 months ago.
You were in a different hat then, yes, sir.
Yes, that's right. Good to see you again.
Yes, sir.
And then we also have George Duncan, the city manager of Bloomfield. Good morning. And let's see here. Cynthia, Jason, I think that's it. Rob Mays,
Morning.
morning, and he's the city manager, city of Farmington, correct?
And then Mike Heel, who is acting manager in Aztec.
All right, Mike Hill, manager, the city manager in Aztec. Good morning, how are you? And some of these, Mr. Chairman, are also on the public comment list.
Yeah, I want to remind everybody that anybody that's here, anybody, you're welcome to come up for public comment. The commission has made it a priority since we've all been here, that we want to hear from each and every one of you all over the state of New Mexico to see if we're doing things right, if we can do things better, or if we're not doing things that we should be doing. So public comment is very, very much appreciated. And so when you come up, whether it's good, bad, indifferent, this commission will listen. And so feel free at any time. I know that some of the people that Rick has already introduced, or Secretary Serna, and feel free to come up for public comment. And with that, you want to introduce, we'll introduce ourselves.
Yep, good morning, everybody. I'm Bruce Ellis, the Commissioner for District 2, Southeastern New Mexico.
I'm Walter Adams, and I'm the Commissioner for District 4, Las Vegas.
I'm Tom Taylor. I'm the commissioner from here, District 5, which I call the Pistol District because on the map it looks like a Glock. The handle goes all the way down into Torrance County and practically to Roswell.
And Commissioner Sandoval, you want to introduce yourself?
Commissioner.
Yes, good morning. Commissioner Sandoval from District 1.
Thank you. And we have two commissioners who couldn't make it today. One of them was viewing some infrastructure up in Gallup with the governor, and the other one had an engagement with family that they had planned months and months ago. So that's Commissioner Chenoweth from District 3 Albuquerque and Commissioner Charles Lundstrom from District 6 in Grants. So with that, we're going to move on to executive staff.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. It's a pleasure to introduce, as always, the executive team here. We have Ken Baca, our General Counsel. Morning, Ken. Justin Reese, Deputy Secretary. Rick Padilla, Executive Director. Our DEs, starting with one, Trent Doolittle, Francisco Sanchez. Not here today, but I want to recognize Justin Gibson in District 3. James Gallegos in District 4, and of course we're here in Paul Brasher's district, and Lisa Vega at District 6. Good morning, everyone. Good to see you all.
And with that, is there anybody else that wants to be recognized or should be recognized? I think that's it. What I hope to see more at these meetings, and I'm going to direct this at the district engineers, is that I want to see a lot more employees here. And the reason that I want to see employees here is because we want to personally tell them thank you for the job they do each and every day. They're the ones that are in the trenches. They're the ones that are making sure that the roads are safe, and they're the ones that are up at 2 in the morning, and they're the ones that when we need to get places and during the winter, they make sure everything's done. And we got the people in the offices. We have people in construction. We have people in IT. We have people in every facet. And what I like to say is that here at DOT, we're like a big puzzle. And if one piece is missing, then we're not complete. Because every position here is as important as the next one. So from this point on, if you can have as many employees as you can, because I think not only to give them recognition, but also so that they can see the people who represent them at work, and they can see, and maybe they can even come up and give us some comments. But for the future meetings, I'd like to get as many people, as long as we're not impacting the work that we need to do to make sure that all the roads are safe. So with that, I'm going to move on to welcoming remarks, and I want to thank the city of Farmington for hosting us. I hadn't been up here probably, I used to be on the Board of Regents at Highlands University, and we had a branch up here, and we used to come and have meetings up here too, so it's been a while. And that's why when the commission decided to go and have a meeting all over the state, it gives us an opportunity to come here, hear what's good, what's not good. And so I want to thank everybody for being in attendance here today. It's very much appreciated. And I want you to know that this commission, well, I guess the meeting's over, the screen's gone. I mean, hey, anybody that had a presentation, I'm sorry. And I just want you to know that this commission values you. We work for you. And that's why it's important that we hear from you. And I also want you to know that this commission values our employees, and we're only as good as our employees. And I'm glad to tell you today that I think we're the #1 organization anywhere. And I say that without a hesitation, because our guys do whatever it takes, and our gals do whatever it takes to make sure that we're doing the best for you. So with that, thank you. Thank you for hosting us. I'd like to have the mayor from Farmington come up. Thank you for attending today.
I wouldn't miss it.
Well, it's a good thing you don't have a presentation.
We would drop it back down.
Okay.
No, I just appreciate the opportunity this morning to welcome you all here, and certainly this crowd. It tells us how important the roads are here in District 5, and we have this many people come out to this meeting. So we hope you enjoy your stay here in the city of Farmington. Have a great meeting. Tomorrow we have a great announcement. I wanted to share my gratitude to this commission for your support of the Pinion Hills Extension Bridge project. That's been on the top of the capital improvement list for a long, long time. So it's going to be very meaningful for individuals inside San Juan County, people commuting through San Juan County, certainly individuals trying to get across East Main Street. It's going to be a big win. We should see some development there for residential development, commercial development. It's a really important project. Tomorrow the governor will be here to make a formal announcement of that. I certainly invite everybody to come out to Farmington Museum at 1 o'clock for that announcement, but just wanted to extend our thanks for this commission's support. Certainly all those individuals, Mr. Brasher, who is our district engineer, and just wanted to say thank you.
Well, thank you for attending today, and we appreciate you hosting us, and we look forward to coming back again. And your commissioner here was adamant that we come down here, and this is where he wanted to start in his district. We have to have a meeting. Well, we don't have to, but we have a meeting our first meeting is in the legislature's on, so we meet in Santa Fe, and so that was his month, and so we were in Santa Fe in case there's any questions or whatever, and so he said, well, hey, you're cheating me. I need to get you up to Farmington. So thank him when you get a chance.
I always do.
He was adamant, so thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Before we go on, what I want to do this morning, which I haven't done, and I think it's very well needed, is we have a group that comes in here, our IT group and our communications group, and they come in here and they make sure that everything is set up, and I want to appreciate them. So what I want to do today, which we've never, there comes the screen, see, as soon as I said that, see? So what I want to do, and I don't know, you're all spread out, so what I want to do, if you're with that team, can you just introduce yourself? And we'll start over there in the back. Well, we'll start right here. Yeah.
I'm Alan Gonzalez, photojournalist at Communications.
Eric Lugosne, IT outfit. Luis Sanchez, I work with engineering app support. Miguel, communication. That's all.
Is that everybody?
I'm Matthew Hunt.
Okay.
Geo.
And then we have our communications director.
I'm Marissa Mays. I'm the communications director.
And so with that, can we give him a hand? Sometimes they're forgotten, and they're the ones that come in here and make sure, and we just show up eating donuts, and everything's ready to go. So with that, thank you. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and move on to public comment. So if I see a hand, just you can raise your hand. Come on up. We'll start here. Good morning.
Good morning. You want me over here?
That's perfect.
All right, good.
And I think, is his mic on? Because it's red.
It was working good just a few minutes ago,
there
so
you
hopefully it'll be the same.
Because ours is green.
I want to welcome the commission up here to this part of the state. It's wonderful to have you up here where we can get here and reach out and talk to you on a timely basis. My name is Chief Mike Hill. I was the acting city manager when some things happened and we lost some finance, and then we were able to get it back. But we have an Aztec team I would like to introduce. If they would all stand up, please, just so I can. Our interim city manager is Jeff Blackburn. Jeff, he's the one that will be taking over and doing all this stuff with the city right now. He's the interim. We have Stephen Saavedra. He's with our community development. Jarek, we have him, and we have Steve Morris. He's our public works. And what a pleasure it is to have this team put together to help me with what we were doing to get this project going. Like I said, I was acting city manager when we lost some funding, and I want to personally thank Secretary Reese for getting us money back. We had a Zoom meeting with him, and he was able to restore that funding. We're going to have to get it through the approval process completely, but he took time to make it whole. And it was $705,600. And to you on this is for our arterial project, which is to get the road around Aztec over there. It's a $17.6 million project. So you would think 705 wouldn't be much money. But for the city of Aztec, it is a huge amount of money, and it probably would have killed our project. So without the help from Secretary, we wouldn't have been there and wouldn't have been able to make this whole. So we're so appreciative of that. He was able to restore the money that was in the fiscal year 22 and put it in the fiscal year 23. And we have been going forward to make sure that can happen. Commissioner Taylor, thank you for your support all of these years. He was in the state legislature helping give funding back when he was in there, and I appreciate that and his continued support on this and his patience to make sure we're able to get there. We believe that we're going to be able to go out and get this project bid in November. And part of that is because I was speaking with Paul Brasher. He called to make sure that things were going and whatever we needed were there. And so he was able to help us with that and make sure we can continue our project and get it where it needs to be. And then we also need to thank Sharon Cruz from New Mexico DOT, who has been very, very helpful in making sure we can get this project in. We're excited to have the funding, and what we're asking you is we're going to make sure we get it through the MPO and then get it on the STIP. And we just want to make sure, and we want to thank the Commission for your support all these years and your patience on this project, and just ask for your support as that supplemental funding comes up to make sure it's approved for the final piece to make sure we can get our project built. And with that, I just want to thank you. And if you have any questions, the experts are out here, could answer them. But thank you very much.
And thank you for attending today. Thank you, Deputy Secretary Reese. Thank you, Mr. Brasher, for the work you do up here. And as you've seen, it's very much appreciated. Who do we got next? I'm gonna go right in the middle on the back. The next one, yes. And then I'll go here and right in front, then I'll go to the back. Okay.
Good morning.
Welcome. Welcome, Commissioner.
Good morning. My name's Terry Fortner. I'm San Juan County Commission Chair. And I just wanted to thank you, commissioners and the executive staff, for being here today. It's quite an honor to be able to meet with you in person. So I wanted to introduce everybody from the county.
Of course, that's what we're here for.
If they would stand back here. Commissioner Lanier, if you'll stand. This is Commissioner Lanier, Pro Tem Chair. And then Jim Cox is our Deputy County Manager. Mike Stark is our County Manager. And then Nick Perrell. Nick, tell me your official name. I know it has to do with, okay. So I know it has to do with all the roads and bridges in there. He does a great job. So thank you for having us this morning. Did I miss anybody else, Mike? Okay. So as I said, I really appreciate you being here to listen today. I just wanted to recognize our former mayor, Tom Taylor, and also a legislator. He's beloved and honored and respected here. We refer to him as Mr. Farmington. So honestly, there's not enough that we could say about him for what he's done for San Juan County. So thank you, Tom. And I hope that you have the opportunity to see what we have here in San Juan County on your visit, or come back when you're not here officially. We'd love to host you with something here. We have fly fishing at Quality Waters. You may have heard about that. Fishing and boating at Navajo Lake. That's a growing industry out there. It's grown a lot, and we've had a lot of tourism because of it. Numerous hiking and mountain biking trails in our area. off-road four-wheeling golf, river walks in Farmington and Bloomfield, as well as cultural experiences at Chaco Canyon, Aztec ruins, and Salmon ruins. So those are sometimes forgotten unless you really understand a lot about the history in our area, and it's pretty amazing what's housed there. I wanted to say thank you to the governor and the New Mexico DOT and our local legislators for the continued support of countywide transportation projects. The funding to complete Pinon Hills Bypass Extension project will be a huge benefit to our community, and more will be said on that tomorrow whenever we meet with the governor. There are a lot more projects that the Highway Commission has been so instrumental in assisting with funding. Thank you for that. I do have one request on behalf of San Juan County, and that is State Highway 173. That's the highway that goes between Aztec and Navajo Dam. It's the main entrance for boaters, lake recreation, for New Mexicans, and for the Four Corners area. Annually, there's about 300,000 visitors there. Unfortunately, the road is in major need of repair. It's pretty dangerous. We receive numerous complaints, as I'm sure that you do, about the narrow shoulders, the blind hills, and the fact that the road is almost washed out every time it rains heavy. The road is extremely unsafe. Just a couple of weeks ago, one of the arroyos that run across the road washed out the shoulders. So it's a one lane both directions, and the shoulder was washed out, and it's been repaired since, but this happens throughout the season many times. My husband and I drive that road pretty much every weekend to go to Navajo Lake, and we take friends out there, and we remember in the old days whenever the road to Albuquerque was so dangerous, and it's a major concern, especially whenever we are towing boats out there. So we would respectfully ask that the New Mexico Department of Transportation put this road as one of the top priorities for full improvement for future budgets. Thank you again for your visit to our wonderful area, and we hope to see you again.
Thank you, and we have a commissioner who's going to stay here a couple of extra days to do fly fishing.
Oh, good.
And,
okay. Excellent. Well, if you need any tips, we know the people.
You know, I just want to let everybody know that we appreciate all the elected officials that are here today, and for the job that you do, whether it's at the county, the city, or at the schools, or whatever capacity that is. We appreciate your hard work, and we appreciate your dedication to the communities to make sure that things are getting done like you came up here and said today, and make requests, and that request will be taken in very much seriously. And you made one good point, is that I also want to thank the governor and the legislators, because they have been great in the funding. And we're in a good place right now as a commission, because there's so much work going on that it's good. And it'd be worse if we came up here and we said, well, we don't have any money to do anything, but because of them, and she'll be here tomorrow. I know we missed him by a day, but if you see him, tell him thank you too, because we can only do what the budget allows us to do. So thank you.
Thank you.
Right here in the front. Yes, sir. Right there in the blue shirt. Okay, you, come on. Welcome.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. We weren't sure who was going to speak for us this morning, so I apologize.
That's why I said the blue shirt. It doesn't matter.
No problem. Good morning and good morning. My name is Janice Giacchino, and I serve District 4 of the Farmington City Council. Back in April, the City of Farmington staff was informed of the possibility of funding for the corridor on 516 between English Road and Country Club Drive, resurfacing and repairs. And I'm asking if you would indulge me in an update or where that project may stand.
Would it be, Paul?
Would you repeat the elements again?
New Mexico 516 between English Drive and Country Club Drive.
Okay, East Main.
East Main. Yes.
Mr. Chair, Secretary, Commissioners, we're going to be working on it next spring. We will get to it next spring.
Okay, I appreciate that.
We've had our eye on it, and we're making it a priority in this area right here. So we'll get to it next spring.
Thank you for that update, and I make myself available if you need any assistance or in communication. I'm happy to do what I can to move that project along and make sure it happens.
Certainly, very much appreciated.
Thank you.
Thank you for that, and thank you for coming up today.
Thank you. Welcome to Farmington.
Thank you. See the guy in the blue shirt? I knew it, see?
My name is Mr. Blue Shirt, and I'm glad to be here today. I represent our Community Works Department here in Farmington, and I just couldn't pass this meeting up without expressing our gratitude. We have been working for over 20 years, and Tom Taylor can tell you all about that, and Commissioner Taylor, I'm so grateful for your work in this. For the past Secretary Michael Sandoval and the Deputy Secretary, for all their hard work in helping this really come to a reality. This is something that's been our #1 regional project and will eventually connect both the Bloomfield Highway and the 516 Highway. So it's a needed asset. It's a great example of perseverance, and it's a lot of cash, and we do appreciate it. It's a big deal for us in the community. I would also like to just add to what Council person Giacchino had stressed about East Main. I want you to know also you have a great maintenance staff here locally. When we have reported specific issues, they've jumped right on it. It's been a little harder sometimes when we're talking about projects such as a full overlay for a section of roadway, just because it's always been hard to get some money, but they've been very responsive in talking about doing this East Main project for us. We had hoped this fall, but we're glad to hear that it is definitely scheduled for spring. So our thanks to you for that. And again, let me express my appreciation for Pinion Hills Boulevard. You guys just know how that rocks. Thank you much.
Thank you for being here today, and as I stressed earlier, we're all partners in this. And in order to get where we need to get, there's only one way we're gonna get there, and that's together. So thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, hold on, I had one person in the back that I was going to, and then y'all go with you next. Thank you. Welcome.
Good morning, Commissioner, staff, everybody in the audience, New Mexico DOT. My name is Jonah Begay. I'm with the Navajo DOT. We're located in Windrock, well, actually just right across Arizona and New Mexico state line in San Benito. I also like to introduce one of our staff here also, Ms. March Begay. Ms. March Begay is from our planning department. They've been pretty busy with right now, as we've all heard and seen with all the floodings throughout the areas in the state and then portion of Arizona. So they've been pretty busy with the planning portion on that, the flooding areas. My comment on that is 4 projects that I want to thank the commissioners and also NMDOT and all the other people that are involved in the projects that are happening on Navajo. I think the biggest project is US 64. That I think Mr. Paul Brasher was heavily involved in that one, that we have a 3-phase projects on the reconstruction of the US 64 from Sherbrooke all the way down to the Arizona-New Mexico line going towards Arizona. I believe that NMDOT got a grant a couple of years ago, if I'm not mistaken, maybe a year ago, 2 years ago, and I want to thank New Mexico DOT on that one for their involvement on that one. I just want to ask NMDOT that if Navajo Nation I know they're working on the right-of-way right now with Navajo Nation, and I want to make sure that on Navajo Nation side, we get things moving so that the grant doesn't expire on that projects. And then secondly is the project that's going on right here in just south of Farmington here. New Mexico 371 and Navajo route, BIA route N36. We're working on a safety project with NMDOT on that one. It's a cost sharing. The nomination is contributing about $400,000 on that one, and then also other contributions from NMDOT. So we also want to ask the commissioner that we'd like to get that project, keep going on that one. And then another one is I just want to also thank NMDOT for resurfacing the Highway 264 from New Mexico Arizona state line all the way towards Gallup by Window Rock. So I just want to thank the NMDOT on that one too, also, and the commissioners. And then lastly, we did a project over in Tuajale, which is about maybe 30 miles just west of Farmington, off of Interstate 40, a little town of Tuajale. We did a coordination and partnership project with NMDOT on that one. So I just want to thank and NMDOT and the commissioners for those projects and their involvement, and also for the funding. And thank you, everybody.
We appreciate you being here, and thank you for the work you do too. And if we can be of help, our ears are open, and we will. So
thank you.
Thank you. Welcome.
Good morning. I'm Cynthia Tetsio. I'm the mayor for the city of Bloomfield. And I wanted to start, like everybody else, to say thank you. Hopefully I don't drop the microphone. Thank you for the work that you guys have done. And I'm grateful that you said to have more employees here, because I know Cassie, but I don't know a lot of our other employees that are in our area. And that's great to know. And it would be good to be able to meet the people in our area. So I really appreciate that you mentioned that as well. What the things I wanted to say thank you for is, most importantly, the striping of Highway 64 and 550. You don't know how many times Councilor Eckstein is here, my city manager George Duncan is here. We got so many calls at night. You can't see the road. You can't see the road. So thank you so much. I know, and Mr. Brasher, thank you. I know some citizens called and they said that you were very helpful and very polite and very, very approachable. So thank you for that. And also, they just started working. We were just talking about at our major intersections, because we have 3 intersections that are all state highways. Those are our main intersections in Bloomfield. At our intersections, the asphalt has buckled up on all of the corners. And like George said, it's probably the heavy traffic and overtime and the heat going up. Well, what happened too is we always say one lady, but we have numerous people, but one lady in particular that goes all around Bloomfield in her wheelchair. She couldn't get up on the ramps because that's where the entrances were. Currently, our local New Mexico DOT is working on cutting that down, and we really do appreciate that. That helps our citizens. So with that, I'd say thank you for that. I also want to put a bug in your ear. You know, we always have projects, as we can all see here. The entrances to San Juan County are very important, and of every one of the cities that are here today have that, and we appreciate Mr. Taylor. I know he said, I don't know why, and I told him, because we know that your heart is here in San Juan County. But I also have to say that I had the pleasure and the honor of judging Dancing with the Stars, which Mr. Taylor participated in. And he didn't win, so hopefully he doesn't hold that against me. But with that, the bug I want to put in your ear is for 2 particular projects that we have coming up. The first one is the Bergen Lane project, which is coming up on your list there. And the reason that's it's all of our projects are important, but this one is especially important because our students, our middle school students, have to walk on that. There's no sidewalks. Also, the drainage. There's no stormwater drainage on that street, and it floods all of the area. It's mostly about the safety of our citizens and our students there. So there's a lot to that. That's one's up for your consideration. The other one we've been working on, we've done lines under the East Blanco Bridge, and we need funding to replace that bridge sooner. That's not like we're moving forward in steps, but that one is also, I just want to remind everybody that used to be Highway 64 before the new road was built. Since it is now a city street, the city has acquired it. So we appreciate anything that can be done. And again, that's the East Blanco Bridge. It used to be Highway 64. It is no longer, but it is a bridge that the city acquired that used to belong to the state. So any help that we can get on those projects, we really do appreciate it. And I really appreciate you guys coming here. I think that San Juan County always has a great turnout, and we do appreciate everything and the governor's work on stuff. So Thank you for listening. I appreciate it.
No, and thank you for attending this morning, and like I said, that's why we like to come. And all the stuff you mentioned, we will take into consideration.
Thank you.
I want to say hi to State Representative Rod Montoya, who just walked in. Welcome to our meeting. Thank you for participating. And I have another one that would like to come up. It's always good to see you.
Yes, sir. Good morning.
Morning.
I'm Jason Burns from Eddy County. I know I'm kind of out of place up here, but
hey,
long way from home.
You need to ask him how far it is from here to Eddy County.
It's quite a ways. But it's nice that we have good roads to get up here.
He left
safely,
on
no matter
Monday.
how
You just
fast
pulled
you
in
drive.
last night, right?
Do what, sir?
You left on Monday. You just got in last night.
Yeah. No, I won't admit when I left and when I got here. So, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, Mr. soon-to-be official secretary, thank you for allowing me the opportunity this morning. I wanted to come up here this morning, and like you said, you know, it's a long way, but this is something that we felt was important enough we needed to come and discuss this during this meeting. And what I want to discuss today is the transportation funds that you're scheduled to hear and confirm during this meeting. I do want to say that I am the Public Works Director from Eddy County, but that is not who I am here specifically representing this morning. District 2 and DOT has always been, they're great partners and have provided significant funding for Eddy County and District 2 in the southeastern portion of the state. And former Secretary Sandoval and Justin and Francisco really are attentive and listen. We look forward to continuing that relationship with Secretary Cerna. I'm here this morning as the chairman of our MPO for District 2 to express our concern regarding the TPF funds that are being shored up. We went through a pretty extensive process to evaluate our projects, and we submitted those with Francisco's recommendation. And the concern is the shored up projects that were requested afterwards. All of the projects that are being shored up and that are existing, that have existing contracts, that clearly state in all DOT contracts that any overruns and project over budgets are the sole responsibility of the entity that they're being awarded to. It's our concern. We're worried. Our practice of shoring up, it's setting a dire precedent that will be very critical for the future of TPF. By taking funding away from new projects to subsidize existing projects that are essentially over budget and underperforming, reinforces and rewards further poor behavior, poor performance, and underperformance. And so the question we want is where does it stop? Where does shore up, what's the limit to it? What assurances are DOT going to get from the shored up funding that will be expended responsibly and timely? Does DOT intend to shored up funding when over budget and underperforming projects continue to be over budget and underperform? Where does it end? If it continues, it's an exponentially compounding problem that will essentially deplete TPF. That's the concern. And at the end of the day, I don't want people to think, hey, we're from Eddy County, we're from District 2, it all needs to come to us. That's not it. Not at all. They did a great job. We think the reward recommendations are adequate. They went where they need to go. Everyone needs funding. As they came up and explained today, everyone's got projects. We have a lot to do. And we are in it's a word we use, recovery. We've had COVID. The entire state of New Mexico is on the recovery from COVID. We're in some dynamic economic times right now. Diesel's $5 a gallon. Our chip oil has more than doubled in the last 6 months. Project costs are going up. We get it. We need more money. We need a little help. We need to finish our projects. Hey, we understand, you know, and it's life. It happens. But this cannot be allowed to become a reoccurring process that is year on year over. Projects that need additional funding need to come before their MPOs, be resubmitted, reevaluated, re-recommended, re-awarded with new contracts. That way it is, you know, and that's the way I come from. When I come in with a project in Eddy County and say, hey guys, I need another $2 million, I have to stand before my commission and explain why. Why do you need $2 more million? Well, guys, you know, here's where we're at. Justify what you need. And they probably did. But at the end of the day, we cannot allow this to continue, or our TPF will be depleted for no new projects. Because at the end of the day, our transportation infrastructure is the first and foremost important component of our state's success in all fields. If we can't get to and from work, if we can't get industry to and from down in southeastern Mexico, if we can't drive from Eddy County to Farmington to speak to a commission, it's not going to work. We are where it starts and where it ends, with DOT, and you guys have the most important job in the state. And we need to ensure that funding is distributed to entities that will expend funds responsibly, timely, and to projects that are actually shovel-ready and that have been prioritized using technical data, not opinions. So, thank you for letting me speak this morning. You guys are always great. Like I said, Justin, Francisco, Ms. Secretary, we look forward to continuing our relationship with you. So.
No, we appreciate you, and all your words are heartfelt, and they're we love to listen. And so maybe we can even sit down at another time and go over some of this. You know, I just want to say this. I know that there's a lot of entities here, okay? And that local government road fund really helps these entities. And just a little bit, I was here for 42 years.
Yes, sir.
And I remember when that local government road fund, every district, and if I'm wrong, the D's can correct me, we're getting $5 to $10 million a year. That's all they were getting, and it was always like at the 5, 6, 7.
Yeah.
When the governor came in, and we were blessed to be there, we went up to I think it was 50. That was my first year. It was 50, and that was the first time that we were up at 8 or 9, which was good. Okay. And then Representative Lundstrom created a permanent fund, and that permanent fund said, hey, if the budgets are not there, if the projections are not there, we're going to create a $40 million permanent fund, so there'll at least be $40 million. Now, there's 6 districts.
Right.
So this last year, we went from $5 million a year, $6 million a year, and then we went up to the 50 that I told you. Then we went up to 161 million, which means that every district was getting about 28, 27, 30 million. That is very important to these entities, because counties are now allowed to do projects that they can't do because in a lot of time budget doesn't allow.
Right.
Where we're from, up in Vegas, up in Mora County, those areas, they don't have much money up there either. So it allowed us to give more money into the communities and around our districts to get projects completed. This year, with the 40 million, I think we went up to 100, it was up at 120. Then they chopped it down to 106. So coming into it, we were at 106, and then we had to go back, right, Clarissa, because Clarissa knows about this. There was some projects that they needed more money to finish. And so by the time I think that we got the money to put in there, we were down at, what was the final number that we were able to distribute after we filled in all those? About 95. So we took off like another 11, yeah, for 14 million. So your concerns are heard, and we'll go there. I just want you to let you know that we've come a long way from the 5 million a year, and I hope to even get more and more and more, and so we understand, because like in most of the, and all the people, all the elected officials that are here, council and county and even villages or whatever, they depend on that money to get projects done. And so we hope, that next year we can get another amount. I just want you to know that because of Representative Lundstrom, that there'll always be 40 million in there, okay? That, now 40 is not gonna, if you divide it by 6, it's not gonna go a long way, but so far we've been lucky, we've been blessed, and I wanna continue to do that.
No, oh, go ahead, sir, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, that's fine. So,
Yes, sir, and that's, we're greatly appreciative for the funding that's available. Any funding that's available is great, and, reading the newspaper yesterday, I think there's about to be a lot more that hopefully the district can take advantage of and, essentially get dirt on the road. And that's where we're at, and I think I mentioned that is shovel ready. And that's kind of the concern is, and this is something that our MPO stresses, and we actually put together a process that encouraged shovel ready, and that's actually one of the evaluation criteria, is that we have a certain, specific, I can't even say the word, spec, that you need to have your project going. You're awarded, you have your contract, you have 30 to 60 days to have that project under construction. That's shovel ready in District 2. And when you apply for a project, you need to know, you need to have a good estimate and have it ready to go, because you're right, if the money sits there too long, you deal with these things. And the money, limited as it is, needs to go on the road. It needs to go towards a beneficial project. So.
Well, let me just tell you this, and I'm gonna turn it over to Commissioner Ellis, is that the first time I heard the phrase shovel ready came from the governor to us and to our Ds, and saying that, hey, from this point on, people better have their projects shovel ready. Because if you never know during a legislative session if later on money becomes available, and if it does, it was like, there's so much money, and you're just like, well, let us work on a project, we'll get it to you. She said, I want everything shovel ready. If they're not shovel ready, you go to the next person and the next person and the next person. We do that with the projects we have on the interstates and all that. We're already getting everything shovel ready. If there's any reserves or any money that comes in extra, we already have projects that are ready to go.
That's right.
So, so that's one thing we're very aware of. I'll turn it over to Commissioner Ellis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Secretary, and I share Jason's concerns. I've gotten, one phone call and one personal visit just within the last 3 or 4 days. And in both cases, those were state representatives. Both happened to be from District 2, even though we were not in District 2. But the concern is that these projects are running over what the initial dollars were. And Jason's concern is a concern that we should all have, because it's not a District 2 issue, it's not a District 5 issue, it's a state of New Mexico issue, and we need to put all of this into one bundle where we can understand what is at risk for the department, and at the same time, what is at risk for these projects and where they are and what's going on. I want to put it one way, and this was shared by a state representative from Eddy County. We don't want to spend tomorrow's money on today's projects. He says we don't want to lose those projects, but we have to figure out a mechanism, whatever that mechanism may be, to make sure that we continue these projects that are in the pipeline and figure out a way, whatever that may be, to be able to keep those other projects that are funded that are going to come through this mechanism for the future. And his comment was, there's a lot of smart people in this room. Maybe not at this table, but there's a lot of smart people at that table over there. Those guys are professionals. They understand what they're doing. We need to figure out a way to let them be involved as much as possible, and make sure that we don't, again, spend tomorrow's money on today's commitments.
Right.
And I mean, it's a situation, as Jason said, there is very little that we did to create it, okay? But regardless of that, we have to deal with the reality of it and find the right mechanism. And I applaud Jason. This is a commitment drive 9 hours or 10 hours or, you know, whatever it was to be here today. And again, this is not an issue that we as a commission or New Mexico DOT as a department can kind of put their head in the sand and say, okay, all of this is going to work out, you know, stay the course and let's figure out what happens. So
Yeah, and I agree with that because I keep an eye on that local government road fund. And just because I'm always trying to get every dollar I can for my district. And when I was told that we were gonna have to go back and refund some of those projects because there was overruns and the projections fell short, well, then, as you see it, we had to make sure that those projects got completed, but at the same time, it depleted some of that fund for future projects.
Right.
And that, as Commissioner Ellis says, that's something that, you know, maybe we can work on. But we're dealing with a budget that's specifically for that, so we have to figure out how to do it within that budget. But maybe there's another mechanism that we can do, and so that brings that up. I'll turn it over to Secretary Serna.
Thanks, Mr. Chair, and I appreciate your comments and your feedback. And there was one word that stood out to me that I think we can put some immediate energy behind, and that is underperformance, right? I think it's important to understand that there's a difference between shoring up, cost inflation, cost of, you know, increased costs and underperformance, right? And so I think we got to treat underperformance related projects very, very differently, right? And understand what the implications are to the local government's capacity to do these projects, how we can come in and help to keep them on track. So I just want to be clear that we're looking at cost of goods and services differently from contractors who come to us and say, I need more money because we don't have the capacity to move these projects along the way we should.
Right.
And so that's a different thing. So I want to say that immediately we make a commitment to saying, to essentially hold local government accountable if they don't have the capacity to keep projects where they need to be. Now, to that end, one of the projects that we need to get off the ground is how we better manage the progress of these projects. And we do that, I think we do that through staff. We do it, you know, as we need to, but we also need to do that a little bit more cleanly so that on a regular basis, I can tell you, you know, I should be able to pull up right now. They're not underperforming because they're this percentage done with these projects, right? And on track for completion, but I can't. And so I do want to comment on that. Otherwise, I was going to mention during, you know, my report to the commission that cost of it's killing us as an agency too. We have construction, we have maintenance, and so we need some immediate solutions. Some you're going to see in the TPF proposals, right? Let's plug some gaps, and then we need more long-term ones. And that's where we're thinking creatively about what we can do legislatively to address the issue.
And you know, you mentioned performance. There's, in our MPO evaluation process, we actually put a scoring criteria to that not only have you spent your money timely based on your contract, because we want to make sure that they're performing and getting projects done and it's not sitting, but also that DOT compliance is being followed, that we're getting our paperwork done, and that you are performing to the standard. So it's something that I'm glad we'll be able to work through, and if there's anything we can do to help or support, please let us know. And
No, and we appreciate your comments today. We appreciate your travel over here, and we appreciate your attendance here.
And I guess, you know, I'm sorry, I should sit down while I'm ahead, but you know, the one final comment that, you know, the concern of the shore up, and I think some of this might have been in your district, commissioners, and kind of to your comment is, you know, I think there's a fine line between shoring up and expanding a project, because, you know, some of the awards as I went through them were more than double, triple what the initial award was. You know, that it kind of, the appearance of that is we're expanding projects that don't go through the process. That's a concern. So anyway, thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair.
Yes.
You know, one of the difficulties we have is that we're in a time right now that none of us have ever experienced before. The lessons learned during the COVID years have put us in a situation where life will never be the same as it was. And we're going to have to get real creative on how we deal with that, because We learned that single supply is not a great thing. We're going to be suffering from that for a long time, and it affects everything we do. The federal government just has not figured out that when you start pumping money into an economy, it causes inflation. So we have a new bill to cure inflation, and part of it is pumping more money into the situation. It doesn't work. I can see it getting very much worse before it gets better. And I think we're going to have an inflation problem that will just continually be very difficult for projects because of the speed with which it's happening and the resources that can't keep up with it. You know, and the other big thing is it's funny, all these people that used to have jobs that don't now and don't seem to be seeking them. I mean, virtually everybody is hungry for employees, but it's just unusual that those positions are not being filled by people. It is just so much a new ball game. I think we need to have some real creative process to see how to get ahead of it, because in the process we're in now, we're just keeping up from behind, and that isn't going to work. We've got to have new approaches to it. What we ought to do is have all the regulators deregulate for a year. Each year, it seems like that goes by, we have a continual flood of new regulations that come into every facet of society that are expensive. And how safe can we get? Is one of the problems. I have a T-shirt that says "Safety Third," but creativity's number one. And anyway, we need to get super creative to try and figure out how to address the problem, because where we are right now, we are simply falling behind more and more every single day as this process goes on. And it's not just New Mexico, it's our entire country, it's the entire world that's suffering from those problems. And it's just simply going to require a new approach on how we do pretty much everything.
I think one of the things that we're not used to as Americans is, and as a department, is we're going to have to accept that we're going to get less for more. We're going to get less value for the more dollars that we have to spend to accomplish what we accomplished 4 or 5 years ago.
Right.
Any other comments with that? Yeah, come on up, and then I'll go.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, Mr. Secretary, I'm George Duncan. I'm City Manager for the City of Bloomfield. I'd like to really acknowledge Mr. Taylor. We've worked together for many, many years. He is Mr. Farmington, and thank you, Tom, for all the service to our area and the state. We have a beautiful state. I'm an avid bicyclist. I'm not a good bicyclist, but I am an avid bicyclist. And I've noticed over time in the last few months, we have a lot of people traveling cross country on bicycles. Some of these folks are road bicyclists. Some of them may be bike packing, using a combination of highways, state highways, county roads, city streets, even some trails. And one of the things that I just believe that we have done, not poorly, but we could improve upon, is all the highways that serve all the areas. If you come through, if you're wanting to come to Farmington, go to Durango, Moab, you've got to come through Bloomfield. It's as simple as that. I mean, we're just, if you're coming from the south, that is. And a lot of the roadways, we just need to make better improvements on. And I'm not beating anyone up. I'm talking about from cleanliness and litter to sweeping the broad or the wide shoulders that we have. And a lot of times this is done, a lot of times it's left undone. And I know the city of Bloomfield has partnered with the state and provided some of that. But I'm talking about statewide. If we could do a better job and encourage these people coming through, that they have a safe venue, at least on the shoulder. It's not designated as a bike lane necessarily, but it's got a rumble strip. If you put them out over there on the shoulders, then they have a safer manner of biking down a highway. So I'd like to really encourage more cleanliness of the right-of-ways, the highways, and not just state highways, but county roads and city communities as well. I think that we're missing a bet there. In the last few months, I've noticed, and I've spoken to at least 5 cross-country bicyclists coming from the east, headed to San Diego or other places on the west. So I think we ought to look at that. Just something to think about. The other thing I would encourage is, or ask for consideration in Bloomfield anyway, the intersections that like Mayor Atencio mentioned, they're all state highways, 64 and 550. Some of those, I think that we've had an issue with the asphalt rolling up. Could we not use other materials? Concrete in some of these areas, I think it would solve some of those issues. I'm not an engineer by any means, but I've seen this, and when the asphalt gets hot and we have a lot of oil field, gas field type traffic coming through, it rolls it up. It's time and time again. And it is a dangerous item. So I would like to thank the Department of Transportation for all they've done, helping in particular with the it'd be the East Blanco Bridge project. It's under, is typically or currently under right-of-way review by the state highway as well as the landowner. After that, we should be able to go out to bid. We have a beautiful state, and I thank you for all the work you do to empower that and to embrace that, and thank you for your service. Okay. And thank you to the local DOT folks.
Thank you. And thank you for your attendance here today and your comments.
Good morning, Chairman, Commissioners, Secretary. I have 2 topics. It was only going to be one, but now this other issue is brought up. Some of you might not be aware, but both our association, the Asphalt Pavement Association, and the Associated Contractors of New Mexico regularly meet quarterly with the executive staff of the Highway Department, and we bring some of these issues to light. In fact, just recently, one of the big issues has been fuel costs. Well, an agreement has been reached that is satisfactory to both the department and to the contractors, where as it goes up, we can get some money back. If it goes down, we give back money. So that's a good compromise, and you might not be aware of it, but we meet regularly with the executive staff of the department and discuss this issue with the contractors and things, both our organization and the Associated Contractors of New Mexico. So we're working to solve that. So, and I think it's doing pretty good. I think the interface, which started about a year ago, has bared fruit. Now, the other topic I wanted to talk about is awards. We give out the best of the best paving awards every year. And I usually come to you in October, but I'm getting old, and it's tough for me to go see these jobs in 2 months. So I'm going to send out some requests for submittal for projects that have already been done or about to be completed, so I can start looking at them early. But usually we do this in October, and I'm going to start doing it in 2 weeks or so. So I encourage the DEs and any counties or cities are eligible to submit too, and they can give me, get in touch with me at the Associated Contractors of New Mexico, and I can give you application forms. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for all you do, and it's always a pleasure to have you here at the meetings. Anyone else to come before the commission? Speak now or forever hold your peace. Okay. Thank you all, and thank all of you for your
Mr. Chair,
comments.
just
Yes,
one
sir,
more
Commissioner.
comment. I
Yes.
got an awful lot of accolades this morning, and and I appreciate those, but I think it's important for people to understand what a tremendous support I've always had during the times that I've been in leadership positions. We have a great community here in this neck of the woods, and there are a lot of dedicated people. It's not just me by any stretch. So thank you all for your support.
Thank you, Commissioner. With that, we're going to move on to item 7, approval of Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham's appointment of Ricky Serna as Secretary, Department of Transportation. Ken?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, Secretary. This particular agenda item seeks the approval by the Commission of Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham's appointment of Ricky Serna as Secretary of the Department of Transportation. And so, as the Commissioners may know, under New Mexico law, specifically Section 67-3-23, the Commission is required to approve or to consider for approval the Governor's appointment of the Secretary of the Department of Transportation. Further, Commission Policy 3 specifically sets forth that upon the Governor's notice to the Commission of a person selected to be appointed as Secretary of Transportation, the Commission shall meet to discuss and vote its approval or disapproval. So that's what brings us here today as far as this action item is concerned. With the Chairman's permission, I'd like to read the resolution that we propose for approval
Yes,
to the
go ahead.
Commission. So this is resolution number 2022-07 August, and it's titled Approving Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham's Appointment of Ricky Serna as Secretary of Transportation. Whereas Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham has appointed Ricky Serna as Secretary of the Department of Transportation to succeed Michael Sandoval. And whereas NMSA 1978, Section 67-3-23 requires that the Governor's appointment of the Secretary of Transportation be approved by the State Transportation Commission. And whereas the State Transportation Commission desires to approve the appointment of Ricky Serna as Secretary of Transportation and is prepared to adopt and act on a resolution to effectuate this appointment. And now, therefore, be it resolved by the New Mexico State Transportation Commission that it approves the appointment of Ricky Serna as Secretary of Transportation, and be it further resolved that the original of this resolution shall be given to Mr. Serna, and be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution shall be sent to Governor Lujan Grisham, adopted by the State Transportation Commission in open meeting on August 18th, 2022. And so with that, Chairman, Commissioners, I'll stand for any questions, but otherwise would ask for approval of Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham's appointment of Ricky Serna as Secretary of the New Mexico Department of Transportation.
Fellow Commissioners, you had heard the request. What is the pleasure of this commission?
Mr. Chair, I move that we accept the recommendation from the Governor and appoint Mr. Serna as Secretary of New Mexico Department of Transportation.
We have a motion by Commissioner Taylor. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Ellis. Can I have a roll call vote?
Commissioner Sandoval,
Yes.
Commissioner Ellis,
Yes.
Chairman Adams,
Yes,
Commissioner Taylor.
Absolutely.
that carries unanimously.
Okay.
So thank you.
Thank you.
And with that, we're going to move on to number 8, the Four Corners Freight Rail Project. And while you come up, I'm going to make a quick run. I'll be back in a second.
You bet. All right, well, thank you, Mr. Chair and Mr. Secretary. Congrats. Members of the commission, as well as DOT staff, a pleasure to be with you here this morning. And I do want to start off by just echoing a welcome to you all, and more importantly, just thank you for your previous investment and continued investment here in San Juan County transportation projects. Of course, Pinion Hills, we can't say thank you enough for that collaborative effort that's going to be undertaken by DOT, the City of Farmington, and San Juan County. But we too have also benefited from funding from the local government fund to finish the 5500 bridge here recently, $1.5 million in trail improvements from RTP to OHV and mountain bike trail improvements in our area to help develop the outdoor recreation economy. We've also received $1.8 million in Kirtland Schools walk path funding. So I too would just like to extend our thanks and to Mr. Brasher and his team up here. They do a great job and are very responsive to us when we need assistance. So today, I'm Mike Stark, San Juan County Manager. I should have probably said that first. Joining me today is Arvin Trujillo, the Director of FORSET, and Kevin Keller, Vice President of HDR, the engineering firm that's going to help us with this project. Here today to bring awareness for the Commission on this project, as well as ask for your support of this very important transportation project, but more importantly, an economic development diversification project for our local municipalities, San Juan County, the Navajo Nation, and the Four Corners region. And that's the Four Corners Freight Rail Project. Probably be helpful to give you a little background on the history of this project. It's not a new project, I'm sure, as Commissioner Taylor could share with you, because I think he was involved in a lot of the early efforts to study bringing a freight rail line from the I-40 corridor up to San Juan County. It's actually been discussed for over 40 plus years. And for a variety of different reasons, it's never materialized. But I can tell you here recently with the passage of the Energy Transition Act and the pathway that created for the exit of PNM from the San Juan Generating Station, of which, for everyone's benefit, there's only 43 days left in the operation of that plant. There could be the permanent loss of 1,500 direct and indirect jobs. So when that legislation moved through, it certainly was a team effort, and there are a lot of partners that are interested in this project, countywide and regionally, because we know the devastating effect of the loss of those jobs will have in our community. So obviously it's a top of the list project for us. Instantly became a top of the list project, and we wanted to move it forward as quickly as possible. So in February of 2020, we got that in right before COVID. March was when COVID hit. We were able to enter into a historic memorandum of understanding with the Navajo Nation, signed by President Nez and our chair at the time, Jack Fortner. Established the framework for cooperation of a future railway and business development here across the Four Corners region, knowing the need and the urgency to diversify our economy. So shortly thereafter, we sought a U.S. Department of Transportation build grant for $2 million to have a feasibility study, a pre-NEPA project development alternatives analysis study completed, $2 million, as I mentioned. And upon approval from the Freight Rail Administration, which is the agency overseeing the grant, an RFP was issued for engineering consulting services, and as I mentioned earlier, HDR Engineering was a successful applicant. So this is an extremely important project. I'd now like to turn over a little time to Arvin Trujillo to talk about the economic development benefits of this project. And Arvin, the clicker is right here, and it should set you up right there.
Thank you, Mike. Again, my name is Arvin Trujillo. I'm the CEO for Four Corners Economic Development. Our focus as far as an organization is to diversify the economy here in San Juan County, but also begin to expand that out to the Four Corners area. The San Juan County has been in that position of really supporting the Four Corners area with the establishment not only of the Four Corners Power Plant, but San Juan Generating Station, which supported 4 mining operations in the region. what we're looking at today is how do we begin to diversify our economy in order to replace those power plants and those mining operations. We had upwards of, with the 2 plants, you had 600 employees each. With the mining operation at its height, you had 1,000 employees, all earning anywhere between $80,000 to $100,000 a year. Plus that, you had a fairly aggressive oil and gas industry that was ongoing here in the region. So given that, there was a lot of growth and a lot of development. We see the transitioning happening now. So looking at the project overview, you see the area, the study area that we're looking at, seeing how we begin to connect the I-40 corridor with San Juan County. Also, obvious to this picture is the fact that we would have to go through the Navajo Nation in order to make that connection. As Mr. Stark indicated, we have a MOU in place that specifies the partnership of the Navajo Nation with San Juan County in order to effectuate this effort here. Now, looking at this next, why freight rail? We're looking at infrastructure development. How do we bring new markets here to the region? We have a number of small manufacturing firms, companies that support oil and gas as well as the power plants. Some have shown that ability to retrofit. We're looking at new markets and new marketability here in the region on how we can better diversify this region and continue our growth and our development. You see here benefits looking at the environmental aspects of looking at freight, looking at the ability to transport bulk material from the corridor, but more importantly, begin to open up new markets for this region. As been indicated with what we've seen in past years and successes, this area here has been very successful in moving forward with our efforts. And through the development of energy here in this region, as well as in Southwest Colorado, the Four Corners region has really developed since the 60s. And this area here began that coal development with the establishment of the Four Corners power plant back in 1963. From there grew San Juan Generating Station, Mojave Generating Station, Escalante, Choya, Coronado, Springerville. That was the growth of the southwestern portions of the U.S. here. And so again, what we're looking at here is how do we begin to benefit not only this region, but the general Four Corners region with the ability to bring new markets into the area. The Navajo Nation has always been noted as being a sleeping giant. We want to wake that giant up, because that would then really begin to prosper this region, the Four Corners, the state of New Mexico. And so how do we begin to do that? So again, the rail here is going to be a very important vehicle by which we begin to establish that. It's a needed piece of infrastructure that's required here for us to begin to move forward. Most of the equipment, value-added product going in and out of this region is by truck haulage. And you and your engineers have witnessed the wear and tear on the highways that come into the Four Corners area. This would help alleviate that. And again, we're looking at ways that would be beneficial to all members here, whether tribal or non-tribal. And so again, this partnership here would really enhance our ability to bring new industry into the region, to allow us to better retain current industry in place, and to also grow our existing industries, not only here in San Juan County, but also in Southwest Colorado, Southeast Utah, and Northeast Arizona. So again, I would continue to ask for your support in this endeavor. As Mr. Starr indicated, we've been working on this for a number of years, but we're really seeing progress. And we're seeing entities coming forward, even outside the state and the other three states here, supporting this effort. And so again, I would ask for your continued support. So now I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Kevin Keller with HDR Engineering.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Morning.
Yate. Buenos dias. It's my pleasure to be here to support Salmon County and the Navajo Nation with this project. We do a lot of work with the Federal Railroad Administration and the U.S. Department of Transportation. And Mr. Secretary, congratulations on the new gig. Good luck. I'm just going to fly through some of these slides. I think Arvin and Mike framed this pretty well. Again, as Mike said, it's a $2 million grant from USDOT under the Build Grant Program. Under that grant program, there's a lot of work that needs to be done. Again, this is what we call a feasibility study, a pre-NEPA study. Okay, so it's going to set the stage for further work on this corridor down the road. So I just want to go through some of the detailed components of this, right? All projects like this have a very robust stakeholder, agency, and public outreach component, right? That'll be true for all stakeholders in the Four Corners region. We'll start out with purpose and need statement, and I think Arvin and Mike has already stated that pretty eloquently to everyone, the need for this. We will develop an alternatives analysis, and that's really what this consists of. Is number one, is a rail corridor that connects the Four Corners region to the I-40 area or the BNSF Transcon main line feasible? If it is feasible, what all alignment would it look at? So what we'll do is we'll identify several alternative alignments at this stage of the study to see which one has the most feasibility in terms of alignment, in terms of geometry, environmental impacts or benefits, and commercial impacts or benefits. And so all that's going to be done in the next several months. We'll put together an operations plan, a maintenance plan, a capital expenditure forecast. We'll forecast the commodity types and quantities that could be carried on that line, and come up at the end of the day with a feasibility analysis that states, is it feasible or not? If it is feasible, what would be a preferred alignment to further study? And on that further alignment, what kind of economics are associated with that? So with that, again, it's our pleasure to serve Salmon County and the Navajo Nation. We look forward to a lot of work over the next couple of months, not only with the state and other stakeholder partners, but also with the U.S. DOT and the Federal Railroad Administration. So thank you.
Thank you. You have anything else?
Stand for a question.
Yes.
Question, does this include a public spur in anywhere in there for non-rail line users? I know we put one in, with the help of the state of New Mexico, we put one in Roswell about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
It was a tremendous asset to my business at that
Yes.
time. But it not only facilitates that, it encourages additional rail use by probably some non-traditional partners.
You're right on, Commissioner. That's exactly what we're going to look at. And I think Arvin said it well. In terms of economic development for the region, are there any intermodal logistics parks that could spur development? Are there any transload operations? Anything like that? That's what we're going to take a very hard look at up front. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chair, I think Mr. Stark is a little too young to realize how old the railroad really is. Railroad was completed from Durango to Farmington in 1905. And at the time, it was a standard gauge, even though it was a narrow gauge all the way, I think, from Pueblo to Durango. 1926 came around, and the reason they'd done the standard gauge was it was intended to continue down to the Route 66 corridor to meet up with the lines there, which I don't remember what railroad it was at the time. But in 1926, they gave up on that opportunity, pulled up the spikes, and turned it back into a narrow gauge railroad, because obviously we had to have a different locomotive, and everything had to be offloaded in Durango and reloaded to head to Farmington. So they they turned it into a narrow gauge, and I think it was 63 that the last train came to Farmington. Unfortunately, the right-of-ways, many of them had reversion obligations, so it was impossible to keep even the railroad right-of-way intact. But it's a long history of that happening. And then, of course, in the 60s, I think it was Senator Jack Morgan put on a real strong attempt to try and do a railroad here in the area. And this is a really great opportunity in working with Navajo Nation. Development of the nation is an extremely important objective of, I think, all of us here in Four Corners, because they're partners in about everything we do. And a big problem that they have is that a lot of people leave the reservation because they don't have the services and that sort of thing, and job opportunities are available elsewhere. The Senate district here in Farmington, that's mostly Farmington, was 20 years ago 6% Native American. It's 29.6% today. So it's a really important thing to understand that regardless of what is on paper between our communities, that the Navajo Nation is a very important piece of the economy of this region. And so this is a project that really provides some great opportunities, and we certainly need to fix them. I would also indicate that back when we recreated San Juan Economic Development Service into Four Corners Economic Development, one of the things we did was some research on energy-based economy communities, and we could not find a single example anywhere where an energy-based economy that lost that base ever recovered. They never recover. And the reason is the discussion about, unskilled jobs that you don't go to college for, that sort of thing. You're trained on the job, whether it be in oil and gas and coal mining and a lot of those kinds of things. So you have these jobs that are paying, $80,000 to $110,000 a year, and when those go away, there is no opportunity to take that person and put them in an $80,000 a year job. It doesn't exist out there. Retraining, and especially those that are, in the 50 age group, it's just extremely difficult. And so that's the reason why it's never happened anywhere. So this is a big challenge, and it's going to require a multi-faceted approach to really fix it. And so this is an important project that we're working on to try and see if we can put this back together. Anyway.
Thank you for your comments, Commissioner Taylor, and I agree. And as you continue on this endeavor, the commission welcomes you back to give us updates to see how it's progressing and see, how everything's going. And we thank you for being here this morning. Secretary, do you have any words?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Okay. And like I said, feel free to go to, get yourself on any agenda meeting that we have and give us updates.
We will do so. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, before I continue, I just wanted to give a quick shout out on behalf of the commission to Mershawn. She's our admin secretary, and without her, or at least I can say I'd be lost, so thank you for what you do. And Representative Taylor, are you here? I'm sorry, Montoya. Commissioner Taylor's in my head, so.
Commissioner Taylor Begay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, I am lucky enough to have followed Representative Taylor in his footsteps in House District 1. So I do represent the same district that Representative Taylor represented for several years. So I hope I'm doing at least partially what Representative Taylor was doing when he was in office. Secretary Serna, congratulations on your appointment. I wanted to talk briefly about two things. The first one is tomorrow, I know we'll be dedicating the Pinion Hills Bypass Bridge and Road, and I just wanted to thank the commission and DOT in general for helping make this happen. This has been our number one traffic issue for 20 years or longer, and it's been very important to both the county and to the city, and this will alleviate just a lot of our traffic issues on the east side of town, where it's just grown exponentially over the last 20 years. So I do appreciate that investment. But I briefly wanted to talk about the rail project as well. I worked for 32 years out at the coal mines, and the local coal mines we know very well about. We know about and the power plants and the direction we're going in the state. We know that the power plant will be shut down here in a couple of months, and the coal mine, along with all of those jobs, Representative Taylor or Commissioner Taylor just talked about that a bit and about those jobs. For me, it's a little more personal. 32 years, the folks that are out there are friends. Those are people you sweat with, and they become like family. You spend more time with your coworkers if you work out at the coal mine or at the power plants than you do with your family. So that's personal to me. But I'd like to talk a little bit bigger picture just about how important this rail project would be for the Navajo Nation. In the last 15, 18 years, we've seen coal mines and power plants all across the Navajo Nation shut down. McKinley outside of Gallup shut down. Just recently, Kayenta mine, before that Black Mesa mine, and the power plant in Page all shut down within the last year. And then if you look around the Grants area, we just had Escalante power plant shutting down, and then the two mines that have shut down, Lee Ranch, and I'm forgetting the name of the other coal mine. But back when I was Chief of Staff for Lieutenant Governor Sanchez, we got a presentation by the Navajo Nation about how important coal jobs, both in the power plants and in the mines, were to the Navajo Nation. That, at that time, was over 70% of the Navajo Nation's self-generated income. And with the announcement of maybe the Four Corners power plant and the remaining power plant and the remaining coal mine, Navajo coal mine, that they are being looked at as for maybe an early retirement as well. As Commissioner Taylor was talking about, those are the best jobs that exist on the Navajo Nation, and they are almost all gone. Those jobs are different than the jobs that I might have here off of a reservation, and in this way. The folks that I worked with out at the mine that lived on the reservation and had one of those jobs, they supported multiple generations with that income. Where I may be taking care of my wife and my kids and helping out with grandma as necessary. On the reservation, that's not the case. Those jobs supported multiple generations. So this effort to get a rail hub in the area would be very, very important. And in discussions that I've had with both the Navajo Nation president and Vice President Leiser, this is something that is needed so they can once again have high-paying jobs. And since the rail would have to go through the Navajo Nation, this would allow them to negotiate for what they've had before at the mines and the power plants, and that is Navajo preference. For those of us who live off the reservation, that wouldn't matter that much to us, because what it would mean, it would allow for all of the products coming in and all of our products going out on rail to be competitive with everywhere else in New Mexico that has transportation that is much more inexpensive and available. We would be able to put in, 2 years ago, there was a plastics plant that was considering San Juan County as a location because the feedstock that's available for them to have to run their operations. If the engineering project that goes forward determines that the best location for a rail spur is on the Navajo Nation, the ability for an industrial park on the nation would be something they've not had before. If that happens, some of the complaints that the Navajo Nation has had in the past is that they have all this revenue and then it goes into the communities that border, all of the border towns that border the community. So all of the vehicles that are purchased and all of the goods that are purchased off the reservation, the way that it's been looked at in the past is those communities benefit more from the wealth generated in the nation than the Navajo Nation itself is able to benefit from it. But if this were to happen, and this is something that I know Vice President Leiser will just talk, he gave an address to the state House of Representatives 3 years ago, on this issue, and what he suggested would be beneficial for the nation is if they had a rail spur and the rail located on the reservation, they would benefit, it would kind of flip the script. They would be able to benefit from the border communities because every item that either was offloaded or onloaded and sent, there would be a charge. There'd be a fee. And the nation would then be able to benefit just as much as the local border towns. So I know this has been presented as how important it would be for the Four Corners. Having worked on the Navajo Reservation for almost 20 years, most folks are very unaware of the actual poverty that exists there and the fact that nearly 50% of all households on the reservation, since they're so far away from a water source or from power lines, there's not electricity. There is not running water in about 50% of those households. You don't have those things. The other thing you don't have is broadband. So these jobs that are going away, they're hurting San Juan County and they're hurting Gallup, but they're devastating the Navajo Nation. So my suggestion is that this become a high priority for a large population that already is underserved, and a large population that already has a very, very tough life in many ways. This would allow more jobs. And regionally, when I worked at Navajo Coal Mine, the number of folks who were Native American who traveled as far as Kayenta to come to work every day, and a lot of folks don't know, but the Navajo Nation is in all 4 states in the region. Very small in Colorado, and not massive in Utah, but in Arizona and New Mexico, the population is very great. And the ability for them to travel to a job and be able to provide for their family, they're more than willing to do it. And so I would suggest, once again, I know this is from your standpoint, you're looking at it from the standpoint of transportation. This is a greater issue than just transportation. The Pinion Hills bypass, that's a transportation issue. This is a bigger issue. This is a livelihood issue. This is what's happening more and more with the Navajo Nation is having to live on money coming from the federal government and potentially from the state. That is not what they want. They want as many jobs and as much income within their community so they can have self-determination. And so I would just suggest that we look at this as more important than it's just a transportation issue. And with that, I thank you for listening to me today. But I just wanted to highlight this is not just important for Farmington, San Juan County. This is very, very important for the Navajo Nation. So thank you.
Representative Montoya, thank you for being here. Thank you for all you do up at the legislature and for what you do for your constituents. And we just want you to know that it's very much appreciated. Some of the monies that I talked about here today are the courtesy of the legislature and the governor, so we appreciate that. And we take your comments very, very seriously, and we'll be in tune with the progress they're making, and we'll try to keep all the information that we can. And we know that you have a legislative session looming, so with that we wish you luck and thank you again for your attendance here.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
With that, we're going to go on to the District 5 update.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Secretary Serna, Commissioners. I'm Paul Brasher. I'm the District 5 engineer. We have a little short presentation for you coming up that will flaunt our district and our achievements and our activities for you. So with that, and these don't happen automatically, by the way, through the hard work of Marissa May's staff, Miguel Fierro particularly, who's the videographer, and just all around highly professional person who puts these together. If you would roll this, I would certainly appreciate it.
Morning, Mr. Chair, Secretary Serna, Commissioners. My name is Paul Brasher. I am the District 5 engineer for the New Mexico Department of Transportation, District 5. Our District 5 Commissioner is Mr. Tom Taylor. You have before you a map of our district showing how it is configured and how it is carved out of the rest of the state of New Mexico. Our district encompasses the counties of San Juan, Rio Arriba, Taos, Santa Fe, Torrance, and Los Alamos. We are in charge of over 5,375 lane miles, covering an area of nearly 19,000 square miles of the state of New Mexico. Within our district, we are responsible for 506 bridges. We have 17 local governments within our district. We have 10 tribal governments. We have 3 rest areas, 23 maintenance patrols, and 5 construction project offices. As far as our district executive management goes, I have an assistant district engineer for engineering, Mr. Javier Martinez, an assistant district engineer for maintenance, Mr. Ken Barnett, and we have an assistant district engineer for construction, Ms. Sally Reeves, and our district business manager is Darren Casados. Shown on this sheet is our fiscal year 22 budget, which reflects an operating budget of over $25 million. Construction contracts right now, over $200 million under construction right now. We have contract maintenance budgeted at $7 million. Field supplies at $6.5 million. We have money for striping and signing at about $1.5 million. We spend over $91,000 on rest area improvements, and we pay about $624,000 for rest area improvements. Within our district, we operate with a support staff of 49 positions. On the maintenance side, there are 190 positions. On the construction side, 66 positions. In our engineering support, 20 positions, for a total of 325 positions. Our current vacancy rate is 25.5% with 83 positions. And this, while most of the vacancies are on the maintenance side, within each of the support, staff, the maintenance, the construction, and engineering, the individual vacancy rates are about 25%. And this is something we are actively working on, trying to do as best we can to reduce. It is catching us a little short-handed and making it difficult. but we are managing to work through it. Some construction projects that we have in progress or recently completed include the New Mexico 50 bridge replacement. This is in the vicinity of Pecos, just outside of Santa Fe. In Los Alamos, our New Mexico 502 roadway reconstruction. We built a roundabout. You'll see on the photograph a before and after photograph of New Mexico 371 roadway reconstruction, which is highly successful. We have under construction on New Mexico 96, this is near Gallina, a bridge replacement project that is going well for us, and we expect completion soon. New Mexico 68, we have roadway construction going through Alcalde. As many of you are probably aware, these are some photographs showing the construction in progress. It too is going well. On US 64, we have a bridge rehabilitation project, and this is in the vicinity of Monero. And we have, of course, our project in Taos. This is an active construction project right now, and it is urban construction with a lot of underground, historic underground, in a community that dates back to the 1600s in a narrowly confined right-of-way, enhancing the difficulties and the challenges we face getting it done. But it is well underway, in progress. You'll notice our I-40 pavement preservation guardrail construction project came out very nicely. And we have 84, 285, 599 ramp roadway reconstruction. The photograph shows it under construction. It is recently completed. One of the projects we like to highlight that we have recently completed is the roundabout in Los Alamos. It was a little controversial getting started, but I think we've gotten favorable comments from people who use it and appreciate having it there. And finally, because the interstates are our priority, we have just recently launched the reconstruction of about a mile of I-25 south of Santa Fe on that side slope, famously known as La Bajada, to repair a serious side slope failure. This project will run approximately 2 years at a cost of $40 million. We ask the public's patience and extra consideration to safety while this work is going on. So let me show on the following slide what projects we have in development. I won't go through all of these, but it gives you an idea for the number of projects that we have in development in various stages of design right now. You'll notice I have it by routes. There's a lot of projects on US 64, US 60, some New Mexico 4, I-25, the interstates. The interstates are our priority, so we'll always have interstate projects under construction. But if you look at the bottom line in the lower right-hand corner, you'll see that we have over $350 million worth of projects in the development stage right now. On the maintenance side, we have completed a number of maintenance projects. We have a project that we wrapped up on Lower San Pedro in Espanola, hot in-place recycling, that came out very nicely. Murray Drive in Farmington was a mill and inlay. We completed a maintenance project on US 84 in the vicinity of Abiquiu. New Mexico 76, which runs from Espanola to Chimayo, hot in-place recycling we recently completed. New Mexico 74 in the vicinity of El Quilwingue, we overlaid. Great economy and highly successful. New Mexico 518 is a Novichip project. Our litter pickup, we pay attention to litter. Litter is our priority because we do recognize it's a safety consideration, and it provides the aesthetics that the public has to live with as they live here and travel through. We expend great efforts on litter pickup throughout the district. New Mexico 537, this is the route that takes you from 550 up to Dulce. We worked together with a contractor to do a little bit of widening and some hot in-place recycling. Now, speaking of 537 here, I show some before and after photographs, and these illustrate the drastic improvements that we were able to make to the road. It also reflects how badly the road needed the improvements that we gave it. One that came up particularly well is our US 550. Now, this circuit that you're seeing right here runs from Aztec to Bloomfield, and it was much needed and much taken care of. So this is the listing of the maintenance projects that we have completed. I showed you some photographs, but this is a listing of the projects that we've done. It is continued on the second page. So we had a highly successful listing of completed projects, nearly $33 million worth that we recently completed. Upcoming, with the maintenance money that we have available so far, we're looking at about $5.5 million. We, of course, do participate with local governments in funding, and so I'm showing a slide of where the money is going. There are county cooperative agreements, municipal cooperative agreements, school district co-ops, the county arterial programs, school bus route agreements, and the municipal arterial program. And what I'm showing is which of our governmental entities were able to be provided with the state funds as listed. You'll notice that nearly everybody gets about the same contribution from the state of New Mexico on all these projects, but our local government's projects total is nearly $4 million. Now the next graphic is our district and showing geographically with the colored dots where the local government funding went, geographically pretty evenly distributed throughout our district. Next, I have a graphic showing our transportation project fund with $15 million, and with this graphic it shows generally how that is distributed geographically throughout the district. I've got to say this about our District 5 maintenance staff. As you're all aware, the San Miguel County, Moore County suffered the effects of recent wildfires, large wildfires, record for the state. And with those wildfires comes increased runoff from even minor precipitation events. Well, we had some major rainfall occur, which caused some flooding all over San Miguel and Moore County. And our colleagues in District 4 responded admirably, preventing and mitigating the effects of the flood. In District 5, we were proud to help out by hauling sand to fill sandbags. We hauled empty sandbags from one point to another. We hauled fully filled sandbags from one place to another. We supplied equipment of all sorts, dump trucks, bulldozers, trucks, staff, personnel, around the clock, together with our colleagues in District 4. You see in the photograph an example of some of our heavy equipment full of sand making the trek. District 5 sent D8 bulldozer up a county road to help work with the Corps of Engineers and our colleagues in District 4 to clear a rock slide and clear trees that are blocking county road. We continue to help, and we're glad to be part of this emergency response because safety is our priority, and responding to the public in this time of need is something we're just not going to pass on. Speaking of our District 5 staff, I'd like to say now that, just state that we have exceptional individuals who put people first, and they're doing extraordinary work through difficult times. And so whether it is our assistance in response to the emergency related to the fire, or whether it's just a routine plowing and highway maintenance, engineering, and carrying on the business of the district here, we have some outstanding employees, and we are recognizing our Employee of the Year, Mr. Chris Ortiz. Chris Ortiz had been working in our audit office. He now works in our traffic section.
It's never ending. As soon as you close out one project, there's another already on the way, and others that need another close out too. So it's nonstop.
And like this, what does it do for your route? Does it change your approach to work?
Pretty much the same, I'd say. I mean, I didn't expect to receive that nomination, but I mean, either with or without it, I'd still be trying to deliver and trying to just keep on working hard and learning.
One of the things that's outstanding about Chris is that he is an example of highly successful degree program that New Mexico DOT offers. He launched in on the degree program a number of years ago. He has successfully completed his degree, got his engineering and training certificate. We're extremely proud of him. And with pride, let me say that the crew of the year is our Tierra Maria Patrol. And if you look at the photograph here, you can see the snow in the background because this is routine for the Tierra Maria Patrol and all our northern patrols.
We're on 410s now, so we're responsible for the maintenance of signs and roadways, which is potholes, snow removal, debris removal, bar ditches, mowing. Oh, nothing would get done without teamwork, without cooperation within everybody. Everybody has to work together, and it's the same in Festivas or Chama. If they need somebody, Gaina, you will see. If they need somebody, they call us, we go help them out. If we need somebody, they'll help us out.
We are recognizing the put under your control. And specifically, I'd like to name Jose Martinez, Ronald Odella, Tommy Gallegos, Johnny Zamora, Andres Garcia, Joseph Martinez, and Ramon Trujillo. With that, Mr. Chair, Secretary Serna, Commissioners, I would like to thank everybody for joining us here today in District 5 in Farmington. I'm ready to answer any questions, take any comments. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Brasher. I just have a quick comment, and I want to, on behalf of District 4, thank you for all the support you've given us with manpower, equipment, and whatever else you needed. I also want to thank some of the other districts, because you were involved too in hauling the sand, the wall barrier, and all that stuff. So here at DOT, we have no boundaries, and we all have our districts, but that doesn't mean we stay within our districts. We go wherever we go to assist others and to make sure that we're doing the best job we can. So
Well,
relay it to all the employees up at District 5 that we appreciate every piece of work that they're doing, and all the other districts as well.
Mr. Chair, I'm awfully proud to say that I think all the districts cooperate, particularly in assisting District 4 in their wildfire and their flooding duties and all that. Excuse me, all the districts have chipped in and willingly, and even undertaken some heroic measures, to respond to these around the clock, putting from some impossible situations. Well, you have to have good people, and we have good people. The state of New Mexico is fortunate that we have these people. And so from District 5, there are some District 5 employees here I would like to recognize here. First is the Assistant District Engineer for Engineering, Mr. Javier Martinez. Do you stand up, Javier? This is Javier Martinez. I would like to introduce Mr. Darren Casados, who's our business manager. I would like to introduce James Murray, who is our public information officer. And Jason Douglas, who is our area maintenance superintendent for this area up here. There's Jason. And
I've known Jason forever, right, Jason? I used to come down to your patrol.
Well, this is our Jason. And then Ms. Cassie Romero, who is the project manager for the Bloomfield Project Office. She gets our STIP constructed up in this area, excuse me, of the state. And then Michael Mayo, who is a patrol foreman for Farmington. Is Mike here? There's Mike. Here you go, Mike. He's at the broken end of the bottle. I mean, he gets things done up here. And then I think we have Nathan Garcia here, don't we have Nathan? Patrol foreman at Bloomfield. And there are many more behind them, but you have to have good people, and we have them, and we're grateful for them. And so with that, Mr. Chair, I would be pleased to answer any questions you might have.
I just want to reiterate from the commission that we appreciate all the work that all the employees in District 5 are doing. And I know you all go above and beyond what we ask of you. And I've said this before because I come from the trenches, is that we are lucky to have these people because they're not here for the money. They're here because they have a passion to do something, and that passion is to go out each and every day and to make a difference. And for that, we thank you, and we thank all our employees around the state. And with that, is there any other comments from fellow commissioners?
Mr. Chair, may I add that these people I introduced you today to, they're dedicated, and they show initiative. They see things to be done, and that is particularly remarkable. In the state of New Mexico, the 2 million people in the state of New Mexico probably don't realize it, and the million or so that travel to the state. But these people, and people like them throughout the districts, are getting this done for the people in New Mexico. So on behalf of a grateful state, thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And with that, is there any other questions or comments from fellow commissioners? If not, thank you, Mr. Brasher.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Secretary.
Thank you, and we will move on to the Secretary's report, 10A.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thanks again, Paul. Commissioners, as you all know, I think today marks a month since I joined the agency, and we've been working to coordinate a series of transitional meetings with all of the various divisions at the general office and throughout the state, and of course with the 6 districts. And the goals of those discussions, of course, are to address some immediate loose ends. For example, some loose ends on org structure and reporting. We're also, of course, trying to achieve the goal of my becoming familiar with the agency and its work, determining how all of the pieces fit together. I think the process of asking a lot of questions about what everyone does is helping us determine why we do what we do and whether or not we can improve upon those things, and then obviously identifying some of the priorities and challenges, which I'll talk a little bit more about. But initially, some of the items, and I think Paul has talked a little bit about this, include what we need to do to fill some of the vacancies throughout the agency. That's big. Clearly, like with other state agencies and other employers, both public or private, in the midst of the Great Recession, we struggle as an employer of the state of New Mexico with finding workers who are eager to work. And so we, of course, are coordinating between communication between HR, the districts, to really be strategic about how we leverage our campaign, about how we identify strategies for temporary retention and recruitment differentials and hard-to-fill positions throughout the state to fill some of those vacancies. And so I look forward to seeing that vacancy rate come down through the coordinated efforts. One of the priorities for me has been managing relationships with local elected officials. I think you all are aware that one of the items that we spend a large portion of our time on is the interactions with local governments and the relationships that we have with them, the commitments we make to them, the concerns that they have, and our follow-up on when some of those concerns are going to be addressed. So it's been a pleasure working with the leadership team to establish some protocols that just help us all become better in tune to what's happening. Our discussions with elected officials, I mean, on any given day, between 6 or 7 of us, we can talk to 9 or 10 different elected officials, and wrangling that in is something that we're working on. One of the priorities moving forward that I'm hoping to evaluate, to update you on a regular basis, is our evaluation of strategies for maximizing bill funding. As you all may be aware, the bipartisan infrastructure bill allows for local communities to apply for funding directly, and that's new, and certainly there's going to be an appetite for that to occur directly with local communities. And then there's going to be a lot of requests that we perhaps serve as that flow-through agency for a lot of this funding. So we need to evaluate our capacity on the local government relations side to be able to manage these projects from design to completion, and how we might work with our colleagues at FHWA to perhaps help train local communities, counties, municipalities, and tribal governments on how to properly manage this funding, get these projects designed and constructed timely. I do also want to share that we released, with the help of a number of individuals, the $6 million electric vehicle charging station grant solicitation. It's a solicitation to essentially identify where we can expend $6 million of ARPA funding in installing fast-charging electric vehicle charging stations throughout rural locations across the state. This is just one of a few measures that will help us outfit the entire state of New Mexico, right, as an electric vehicle-friendly state, and the second of which we think will come with the approval of our NEVI plan and the $30+ million that will come from it. One of the projects that I've asked staff to begin working on that I'm hopeful we can complete between now and this session is a public dashboard to track projects and funding. You all may be aware that right now on the DOT website, there's a tool that allows anyone, the general public, to go in and identify by location what project is occurring and how much it costs. But what we want to do is take that to the next level and actually reconcile how much money we receive and where that funding is throughout the state, so that we can better share with the general public, with lawmakers, with the commission. Listen, this is how much money we receive, this is where it's obligated, this is where the commitments are, and this is where we have flexibility, for example, to take on new priorities. I think that's big. There's a perception from the outside looking in that DOT has a tremendous amount of resources, and I think it does, but the extent at which we can be fluid with those resources, we really have to monitor more closely to be sure that we don't start moving things in directions that leave projects unfunded or unfinished and things like that. And then I did cover our concerns, of course, with cost overruns. But one of the other challenges that we're looking at, based on my interactions with the districts and with staff, of course, is a concern that stems from fewer contracts bidding on projects, or being a little bit more particular about the projects that they want to bid. And so that impacts us, of course, as we get more resources and revenue to the state. We're going to have more projects, local governments will have more projects. So we're going to need to work with contractors more closely to see how our scheduling of these projects and timing of these projects can really help us get the kind of, pool from those bids that we really need to be competitive. And that even includes our capacity for striping and guardrail repair and things like that. Lastly, I just want to share that I think my transition is a good opportunity for the commission's transition. And so what I'll be doing at the next meeting is presenting a transition summary that I believe will also go to the governor's office, just kind of wrap up some of those priorities and gaps, perhaps at that point, maybe even legislative priorities for the upcoming session, but also an answer to a question that many of you have posed to me, and that is, what can the commission do to help the agency advance itself? So we hope to perhaps articulate the role that we expect the commissioners to play on an ongoing basis within your regions, within your districts, so that you're informed, that you're a resource for us, but that you also feel like you're helping us achieve some of our goals and priorities. So I look forward to presenting that to you all at our next meeting. And that's all I have, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. I'll answer any questions you might have.
Fellow commissioners, any comments, any? No?
Any major surprises in the first 30 days?
Yes, I don't stink at driving a backhoe. I learned that in Las Cruces. That was a surprise to everyone who watched me do it. And quite frankly, no. I'll be honest with you, a lot of my experience as an administrators in agencies that need a lot of reactionary decision-making and crisis, and this is a turn of events. The agency, I think, through the leadership you see in this room and those behind the scenes, that it's doing phenomenal things for the state, for the economy, and so we're really just going to build on that.
Thank you, Secretary Serna. We look forward to a relationship. And with that, we'll move on to the FHWA report. And as I understand that they're not here, there are partners from FHWA. And so with that, I want to go to Mallory. And don't forget that joke.
All right. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. So, Commissioner Alice, can you tell me why gas stations charge us to fill up our tires?
I have no idea.
Inflation. I was also going to work on a joke regarding airplanes, but I'm still trying to land that one. Alrighty, so we're in month 2 of our FY23 budget year. What you have in front of you is our financial summary. Again, I will focus, this is State Road Fund only. I will focus on column G. Line number 14, we have only received $37.7 million, and so that's pretty normal. Again, it's only 2 months worth of revenue, and we've spent about $28.8 million. On column E, this is our operating budget, which is $1.7 billion. On the next page, we'll go over the restricted revenue. This shows that we've received $1.7 million in revenue, column F, line number 23, and we spent about $800,000. And restricted budget is about $240 million. On the next page shows our cash. And what we like to do here is we like to compare where we were at of July of 2022 versus July of 2021. Right now, the road fund is showing about $181.1 million growth. And our restricted revenue is about $49.1 million growth for a total of about $230 million more than where we were at last year. However, this is a little bit deceiving because this does not take into consideration any encumbrances that we have, so any purchase orders or anything like that. So don't get misleaded that we do have a lot of money, because we don't. As Secretary Serna mentioned, we are seeing higher costs, inflation. We're monitoring it daily. I just can say that for right now we're looking okay, but I can't promise what tomorrow will bring. And then the last thing I have for you is our fund balance for FY23, or our savings account. What we project to end at on June 30th of 2023 for the State Road Fund, we're projecting about a $35.9 million gain to budget. And our restricted revenues come out to $9.5 million for a total of $45.5 million. And Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, I stand for any questions.
You already answered the question you knew I was gonna ask you, so.
Okay.
Any other comments or questions from commission? With that, we thank you and we thank your staff for the wonderful job you do.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay, now we'll go on to number B, budget adjustment request, Mr. Franklin Garcia. Welcome, Franklin.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the commission. My name is Franklin Garcia. I'm the modal director at the Department of Transportation. I'm here to present action item for FY23 bar number 6, P65 for our modal division. Just as a reminder, back in in 2021, there was Senate Joint Resolution transferred the ownership of the ports of entry and the operation of the ports of entry to the Department of Transportation from GSD and DPS. We have been, since 2016, been providing port maintenance and facility oversight for the ports regardless of the ownership. What we've identified in some of the maintenance in the Clayton area, we've been doing a lot of driveway maintenance, and we noticed that it was in constant need of repair. There were several attempts that we've made to try to patch, repair, or maintain the area with the driveway and the overall parking lot. However, there's a need for a current full concrete repaving project, and so that's the need for this current bar. So with that, we're trying to require, the bar is required to establish budget authority for the ports of entry. The bar will increase contractual services, which is category 300, by $2 million to fund the Clayton Port of Entry parking lot and driveways. And these are all state road funds. So with that, I'm requesting approval.
Is there any questions or comments? If not, you've heard the recommendation. Secretary Serna, what is your recommendation?
Mr. Chair, thank you. I recommend approval of bar number 6.
We have a motion to approve action item budget adjustment request, bar number 6, Clayton Port of Entry.
So moved.
I have a motion from Commissioner Ellis. Second from Commissioner Taylor. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And you know what, just for the record, since you are on Zoom, I think I'll just do a roll call vote, just to make sure.
Commissioner Sandoval,
Aye.
Commissioner Ellis,
Yes.
Chairman Adams,
Yes.
Commissioner Taylor.
Yes.
Thank you, Franklin, and thank you for all you do, and let your staff know we appreciate everything they do.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Commissioner.
Now we'll go on to Clarissa. Welcome.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of Commission. I'm here today to present our FY23 Transportation Project Fund program. This year was unique. We had to split it into 2 priorities. So our priority number 1 was assisting local entities to cover shortfalls for their prior year projects that were experiencing inflation due to rising construction costs and so on. And those are in the column that's highlighted in blue. Mershawn just handed out a new sheet. We did notice a numerical error on our sheet. The Village of Rio Doso's amount for their FY23 project was listed incorrectly. We were recommending them for $1,425,000, not the original $3,000 that was listed on the previous sheet. Due to this, we had to increase the FY23 funding amount for this project. So we're making an adjustment with the overruns for Mescalero Apache Tribe and the Village of Clayton in D4. Those will be funded with remaining FY22 TPF funds. Our total that we're requesting to cover for projects experiencing shortfalls is $3,078,353.41. The remaining balance of our TPF funding is going to go towards new projects for FY23, and those total $95,064,780.33. This amount did take into consideration the local entities that did identify that they would be applying for a hardship waiver to cover their 5% match. With that, Mr. Chairman, members of commission, I stand for any questions.
Any questions or comments from fellow commissioners? If not, what is your recommendation, Mr. Secretary?
If I can, will you repeat the number for the prior year overruns? What was that number again?
The prior year will be $13,078,353.
Thank you, because I heard 3 earlier, and I knew that was a little too low okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just wanted to clarify that number, but I recommend approval of the list as recommended.
Do we have to do each one, or does it all fall under the same thing?
It'll all fall under the same.
That's fine. You've heard the recommendation. Do I have a motion for the Transportation Project Fund final project selection and funding amounts? I have a motion from Commissioner Taylor. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Ellis. All in favor? Let's just do the roll call vote.
Commissioner Sandoval?
Yes.
Commissioner Ellis?
Yes.
Chairman Adams?
Yes.
Commissioner Taylor?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for the job you do.
You're welcome.
Then we have Mark. Mark didn't get the memo on the dress code today.
I sure did, or I missed it somehow.
Somebody's gotta look good, right?
Hey.
I will try my best. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, Secretary. Going on to page 64. NMFA did receive in during the month of July your debt service set-aside payment, which totaled $15.9 million. And I'll say by actually receiving that in, you're in excellent standing. You follow exactly what the covenants in your bond indenture say, that we receive in 1/12 of your annual debt service every month. So that means that we are currently holding $16.4 million towards your debt service. Your next debt service payment will be on December 15th in the amount of $22 million. NMFA is also holding project funds, which total $309.6 million. $302.9 million is from your 2021 bond series. $6.7 million is out of your 2014 bond series. At the bottom of the page, the department has a $50 million line of credit. That is for your BNSF commitment, escrow commitment. There was no commitment fee paid during the month of July, but your next quarterly payment will be due in September. On the next page, as I mentioned, you have a $22 million debt service payment on December 15th. That is an interest-only payment, and this page will show you the breakdown of what is actually due for each of the bond series. And with that, it's time for any questions.
Any questions, any comments, fellow Commissioner Secretary? So the question I always ask you that Mallory beat me to is, at this point, you're happy with it?
I'm very happy. As long as you
Okay.
guys are following what you have promised your bondholders, we're very happy.
We appreciate you being here and the report you gave us and the
Thank
job
you.
you do too.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're gonna move on to number 12. Policy reports.
Good morning again, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, Secretary. In this item, we're asking the Commission to reissue. There's a list of 18 Commission policies. Some of them, most of them have expired. Some of them are due to expire in the next month or two. Under Commission Policy 4, our Commission policies are good for a period of 5 years from their effective date. And so it's time to again reissue these policies, which Commission Policy 4 authorizes the Commission to do. So with that, unless there are any questions, Mr. Chairman, I would ask that the Commission...
What I'm going to do is, if it's all right with my fellow commissioners, I'm just going to read them all off and we can do them all at one time. You all had a chance to review them. And if there's no questions or comments, do I have a motion on the policy to approve policy reports, action item, reissuance of commission policies with a new effective date? Number 2, New Mexico State Transportation Commission Code of Conduct. Number 3, approval of secretary. Number 4, New Mexico State Transportation Commission rules and policies. Number 5, involvement in operations. Number 21, annual report. Number 29, disposition of real property. Number 41, annual budget policy. Number 43, annual financial audit by external auditor. Number 44, funding assistance to local governments. Number 47, archaeological costs. Number 61, memorial or honorary designation or dedication of highways, transportation facilities, and structures. Number 69, landscape development on state transportation facilities. Number 70, red light and speed enforcement cameras. Number 71, recreational off-highway vehicles on paved highways. Number 84, snow removal priorities. Number 87, acquisition of rights of way from Native American nations, tribes, and pueblos. Number 88, special construction feature, CP 88. And number 90, certification of regional transit district, RTD, CP 90. You've seen them, you've reviewed them. What is the pleasure of the commission?
Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion, we approve the items as presented with the current effective date.
We have a motion from Commissioner Commissioner Ellis. Do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
I have a second from Commissioner Taylor. May I have a roll call vote?
Commissioner Sandoval,
Yes.
Commissioner Ellis,
Yes.
Chairman Adams,
Yes.
Commissioner Taylor.
Yes.
So that passes unanimously. Thank you, Ken. And
Question.
oh yeah, we have a question.
Clarification on the expiration date of these. So
So-
these will be good 5 years?
For 5 years from today's date.
Okay, that's fine, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And with that, we're gonna go on to 12B, action item. And Lisa. Transfer of SB 90, Bebo Road, south of I-40, Old New Mexico I-21 spur, north of I-40, together with tracks 31C and 34 from NMDOT to United States of America and Trust for the Pueblo of Acoma.
Good morning, Chairman Adams, member of commission. NMDOT received a request to transfer certain portions of roads and partials to the Pueblo of Acoma related to the reconstruction and realignment of exit 102 on I-40 several years ago. The DOT previously agreed by MOA dated December 8, 2008, that it would convey its interest in Track 31C to the Pueblo as consideration for the Pueblo's consent to the grant of easements needed by NMDOT for the reconstruction and realignment of exit 102. The remaining parcels, SP 30, Old Spur 124, Old New Mexico 124 Spur, and Track 34 were no longer needed by the NMDOT because of the realignment of exit 102. The subject parcels and road segments would be transferred by quitclaim deed from the NMDOT to the United States to be held in trust for the Pueblo of Acoma. So today I request commission approval for the transfer of by quitclaim deed of SP 30, Old New Mexico 124 Spur, and tracks 31C, 34 to the United States in trust for the Pueblo of Acoma.
You have heard the request. What is your recommendation, Mr. Secretary?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I recommend approval of the transfer.
Do I have a motion?
Mr. Chair, also moved.
I have a motion from Commissioner Taylor.
Second.
Second from Commissioner Ellis. And I'll just read it again. For the approval of transfer of SB 30, Old New Mexico I-24 spur, together with tracks 31C and 34 from the NMDOT to the United States of America in trust for the Pueblo of Acoma. May I have a roll call vote?
Commissioner Sandoval,
Yes.
Commissioner Ellis,
Yes.
Chairman Adams.
Yes.
Commissioner Taylor.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And with that, we get to everybody's favorite part of the meeting, and that is the adjourn. So is there any other business or any other person to come before the NMDOT Commission? That being said, do I have a motion for adjournment?
I think Mr. Taylor ought to have that honor since we're in his hometown.
Okay.
Well,
Mr. Farmington.
thank you, sir. I move we adjourn.
We have a motion from Commissioner Taylor for adjournment at approximately 10:59. And do I have a second?
By all means, second.
I have a second by Commissioner Ellis. Let's do a roll call vote.
Commissioner Sandoval,
Yes.
Commissioner Ellis,
Yes.
Chairman Adams,
Yes.
Commissioner Taylor.
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioner Sandoval, for being with us today, and we appreciate it, and we look forward to seeing you at our next meeting.
Thank you.
And with that, we're adjourned.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you very much for all your help.
Have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye.